I was literally in the shower when it happened. I didn't know what was going on.
Demetrius McCreary still in shock. The intense rain no match for a massive tree behind this house along Harris Manor Drive in southwest Atlanta. The tree uprooting from the rain-saturated ground, crashing into this brick home. The force so great, branches cutting through the roof, through the attic, and right into his son's bedroom.
I was scared. I didn't know where my son was because he was in the debris. The whole house started shaking. And then I opened my bathroom door, and literally from here all the way across, the whole roof had caved in.
Pieces of drywall, plywood, insulation, and even bricks scattered through 7-year-old Xander's bedroom. His bunk beds covered.
Ran in here, checked on my son, pulled him out the bed. Then we ran downstairs. I sat him down. Then I called 911.
Now, thankfully, Xander was not injured, but this could have been a lot worse. I mean, look at how big this tree is right here. You can see how far it goes back. The roots are way back there, several feet next to the tree line. It went across the backyard, up against the house, and over the house, onto the roof, causing a lot of damage.
Probably go to my dad's house for a little bit, but
McCreary says that he has renter's insurance. He's hoping that covers the damage to his family's personal belongings, but more importantly, he's thankful his family is okay.
we could have seriously been hurt.
In southwest Atlanta, Don Shipman, Atlanta News First.
To their loved ones in prison. We have cases of guards facilitating attacks against people incarcerated there, guards raping women, homicides ruled suicides, easily detected medical conditions becoming deadly. We have dead bodies left in cells for days. And in light of all this, we have judges sentencing young men and women to prison. And it's not someone else's problem. You know, anyone could wind up in prison. We have Atlanta public school teachers wound up in prison. John Oxendine, former insurance commissioner, in prison. Burrell Ellis, whose conviction was reversed, in prison. Some years ago in Decatur, we had an 18-year-old on his way to the prom, killed someone in a car wreck, prison. This could be anyone's child. And it's especially concerning in light of the ongoing RICO charges that are against so many different groups now. But what this case demonstrates is that the GDC, the Department of Corrections, has failed its mission to protect its citizens, our citizens, from violence and to rehabilitate those who have been convicted of criminal offenses. And it has utterly failed its constitutional duty to protect people incarcerated there. The government's response to these tragedies has been secrecy. For example, in this case, trying to find out what happened to Juan Ramirez, we asked the commissioner of the Department of Corrections to declassify these records, which are otherwise kept secret. That request was promptly denied. Instead, the Department of Corrections actively exploits this secrecy. It actively uses it to shield itself from accountability. Today, we're here to talk about what happened to Juan Ramirez while he was incarcerated. And what happened is horrifying. Last July, in the middle of a heat wave, where the heat index was 105 degrees, guards employed by the Department of Corrections locked Mr. Ramirez in a cage outside with no water and no shade and no way to cool himself down, and kept him there for 5 hours. Have you ever walked across the pavement when it's 100 degrees outside? How hot do you think the concrete was that he was sitting on? We aren't even supposed to walk our dogs outside in that temperature. So where's the murder investigation? Where is the accountability? We looked because the Department of Corrections reports statistics about deaths in custody, and so we looked at what they reported about Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez died of natural causes. That's what the Department of Corrections tells us. It kind of calls into question everything they say in those reports, doesn't it? So, we commend a lot of you, many of you, have put this story out there. Thank you. And this story and other stories, thank you. We commend you for that work. You're the only profession mentioned in the Bill of Rights. You're absolutely necessary for a functioning democracy. And the perceptions that you change with your stories are critical, so thank you. We do everything we can for these victims, but we get more calls than we can deal with about the prison system. And the only way it's going to change is when the politicians start to care. So here with Mingo Smith from our firm and our co-counsel, Suri Chata Jimenez, Ms. Bibiano, and I'll hand it over to Suri for some comments and then to our client.
Well, again, thank you to everybody for being here. This is a very difficult case. Just overall, it is extremely tragic to the family. I think one of the things that I experience a lot when people call me, and whether they're in custody over a simple misdemeanor or they're already serving a sentence at a prison, just not knowing what's going on. It is extremely difficult to get in touch with your loved one. You can't call into the jail to check on them. They have to pay money to reach out to their loved ones just on a daily conversation. Now, when they're in distress, when they're in trouble, almost impossible for them to reach out for help. The help that they have and the help that they should be able to rely on is the guards. They should be able to say, sir, I have X and Y, Z problem. I need help. I need medical attention. I need my family. I need water. And here in this instance, all we know is that the loved one of our clients was left to die. It's extremely obvious that it's natural for a human being or any living creature to die when left to bake in the sun. So that's accurate, and it's evil to say it in those words. But we're here today so you can get a better understanding of the personal story and the impact on Ms. Viviano and her family. That it's been a while, and they're still suffering, and they're still in the dark. There's still so many questions unanswered, and today she has prepared a statement. I'm going to be acting as an attorney and as an interpreter, so I will be translating the words that she has prepared for today. Thank you, guys. ¿Lista, señora?
Sí. Mi nombre es Norma Viviano.
My name is Norma Viviano.
Soy la mamá de Juan Carlos Ramírez.
I am the mother of Juan Carlos Ramirez.
Recuerdo a mi hijo, un hijo cariñoso,
I remember my son, a person that was very loving,
amable y muy inteligente.
kind, and very intelligent.
Su muerte me ha afectado mucho.
His death has affected me very much.
Nunca pensé recibir ese mensaje. Siempre yo tenía la esperanza que él regresara a casa.
I never expected to receive that message. I always had the hope that he was going to come back home.
La verdad me siento muy decaída porque nunca pensé perderlo, menos en la situación que él murió.
The truth is I'm very defeated. I never expected to lose him, especially not in the way that he passed away.
Extraño todas sus llamadas y mensajes que él me decía siempre, te quiero, mamá.
I missed all his calls and the messages. Anytime he got in touch with me, he said, I love you, Mom.
Me decía, cuídate, no te preocupes, yo estoy bien.
He would say, take care. Don't worry. I'm fine.
Y a mis otros hijos los ha afectado porque ellos todavía piensan que él está vivo, son pequeños.
My other children are also affected. They still think he's still alive. They're little babies.
Ellos no entienden la situación, piensan que, no entienden lo que significa muerte todavía.
They don't understand the situation. I don't know. They just don't understand the concept of death yet.
Me han quitado un pedazo de mi corazón, pues nada me devolverá a mi hijo.
A piece of my heart is gone. Nothing's going to bring back my baby.
Quisiera que fuera un sueño, que él me llamara, pero esto no es así.
I wish this was a dream and that he would call me, but that's just not going to happen.
Como madre tengo muchas preguntas, ¿qué pasó ese día? Preguntas que hasta ahorita no hay respuestas claras.
As a mother, I have a lot of questions about what happened that day, questions that I still don't have clear answers to.
Pero bueno, me quedo con los bonitos recuerdos de mi hijo, que siempre fue un hijo muy ejemplar para mí. Gracias.
But well, I am left with the great memories of my son, that he was always an exemplary and good son to me. Thank you.
So we're happy to answer any questions anyone has, and say more about the facts of the case, but our knowledge is somewhat limited. Yeah.
I was just wondering in a little bit more detail about what information is being withheld and some of those leftover questions.
Sure, happy to do that. The only information that the department released was the initial investigative report. That investigative report just mentions the fact that there was a death and the officers who were involved in the death. It does not tell any information about the events that led up to the death. It has almost zero information in terms of a narrative. And so that information is what's still missing. We were fortunate to be able to get medical records from the contractor for the Department of Corrections that give us some idea about what happened at the time he was discovered and the efforts that they took on, as well as the hospital took on to save his life.
So what are some of the big questions that you guys still have left over that Viviano is trying to figure out?
We don't know why he was there this day. No, it's fine. I'm soft-spoken. We don't know why he was there that day. We don't know why, how he found himself to be in there, nor
At the prison or on the yard?
on the yard, in the recreational cell. And we don't know who was responsible for he was there. And they took it all, if any, to ensure that he wasn't in harm's way.
The range of possibilities go from negligence to murder. And everything in between.
One outstanding question was, were they punishing him for something or enacting some kind of sort of vendetta against him for something he, did? We just don't know. And so those are...
Clarify the number of children still in
Yes, he has one son.
One son.
He has one son, and also his partner had another son, a previous son. So he was the father figure for two young children.
And then for the family or for attorneys, if you could just speak to, obviously you're here, is there also concern that future families can be in this position if nothing is done? Obviously 27 years old is not the average age to die, so.
Yeah, other families will be in this position. No, absolutely. Other families are in this position now. I mean, the number of deaths that are occurring in custody is galling, and the absolute lawlessness inside the prisons is a humanitarian crisis. I don't use those words lightly. I mean, this is like nothing I think anyone would imagine. I think the only reason it's gone under the radar is because people think it's not going to happen to them or not going to affect anyone they love. And that's not true. It's just not.
We also know that this is the second time this has happened within the Georgia Department of Corrections system. Another man died in Butler State Prison in 2020, I believe, from similar conditions in a similar recreational cell.
And going off your question again, there's no idea right now whether it's just punishment or routine to put people, inmates out like that. It's just unknown at this point.
That's correct.
I think we don't know what the mental state of the person who put someone out is, but it's hard to imagine putting someone out without shelter from the sun on a 105-degree day is anything other than punishment. Without any way of cooling down, even for an hour. I mean, it's not safe.
Can you talk about how this case connects to broader transparency issues that you mentioned within the Georgia Department of Corrections?
So, getting information from the Department of Corrections is nearly impossible when it relates to any specific case about any specific individual. There's a law called the Georgia Secrecy Act that makes prison records state secrets. They deny our open records requests, and luckily, the family does have a right to get medical records, and in this case, that's what we were able to get to help us piece together what happened. In cases where there isn't medical treatment, where someone dies before any medical attention is provided, that avenue isn't even available. And so, and again, even on their official reporting documents, they call this dying of natural causes. It's just, it's a wall that is incredibly difficult to get through. Often the only source of information is from other people incarcerated there who call family members and try to tell them what happened. Otherwise, it's just a wall of secrecy.
But also mentioned that, in terms of law enforcement agencies, normally if this were to happen inside a county's jail, for example, the GBI would be called in to do the investigation, and eventually once that investigation concluded, the investigative report as well as some other information would be available. The Georgia Department of Corrections, though, has made the choice to investigate itself. It doesn't call in an outside agency to do that investigation. And the purpose of that seems to be to consider everything under the Georgia Secrecy Act so that those investigations don't become public knowledge.
Which means that there's no accountability, ultimately, until enough information just leaks out.
Can you give us just like a quick summary of the legal action you all are taking? I know I have the complaint in my inbox, but for video, it helps to get a summary of that.
Not good.
Yeah, so we filed a lawsuit under the Georgia Tort Claims Act against the state of Georgia for negligent performance of their duties. The reason that we had to go that route, ordinarily we would file a suit against individual guards who are involved in the death, and we would have to name them individually and describe their conduct individually, and we would file that in federal court. The reason we can't do that here is because we don't know enough. And so we have to go with the claim that we can bring now, which is the Georgia Tort Claims negligence action. And this is the only way we have of even getting more information. If we didn't have this lawsuit, this family would have no answers.
In this video, how can people who may want to support your family through this lawsuit, help you all out?
quisieran ayudar un tipo de caridad con esta demanda, ¿cómo pueden contactarse? ¿Cómo pueden ayudar?
Pues en realidad nosotros queremos, o sea, que escuchar respuestas de las autoridades. Hoy no no estamos buscando, o sea, que ahorita que ocupamos algo, pero con palabras, nada más palabras de ánimo son suficientes.
In truth, what we want is we want answers from the authorities. We're not looking for charity at this moment. I mean, words of encouragement are definitely welcome, and that's what we welcome, but we want answers from the authorities.
Yeah.
Hi, so how are you guys planning on moving forward?
¿Cómo es que ustedes van a moverse para conseguir más información?
Well, we filed this lawsuit, and within the context of the lawsuit,
Metimos
we'll
esa
be
demanda.
demanding
En el
discovery
contexto de demandas,
from
podemos
the
pedir
state to
evidencia
find out
del
more
Estado.
about what happened.
Yeah, so
Outside of that.
Oh,
In
I don't know that we have other plans currently that we would be talking about in terms of getting information outside of the context of the lawsuit.
But if anyone knows anything, please come forward about this case or any case. It doesn't have to, I don't care if it benefits us or our clients. I care if it benefits fighting against this inhumane system that we have. But the reason the lawsuit is important is because it's the only way for us to get anything else out of the Department of Corrections. Anything else?
Did he ever share any details about the conditions that he was in while in prison? Curious to know if he ever had any other complaints.
Me gustaría saber si él en algún momento compartió con usted algún tipo de queja de las condiciones en la prisión.
Sí, una vez él me dijo que a él lo golpearon, entonces él tenía que estar en terapia.
Yes, one time he told me that he was beaten up and he had to be in therapy.
Él me dijo que lo habían mandado a la prisión otra vez para atrás, cuando él tenía que estar en terapia todavía.
And then he told me that they sent him back to prison when he should have still have been in treatment.
¿Sabe quién lo golpeó?
Otros prisioneros de ahí en otra prisión.
Do you know who hit him? Other prisoners there in the prison.
Y cuando lo golpearon, a él lo dejaron falso de su pierna, como Willow, no sé cómo se dice.
When they hit him, they left him with injuries to his leg. He wasn't able to walk properly.
All right, well, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for covering this story, covering any other stories like it. We're glad you're here.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out to me for any follow-up. I'll be sending out some follow-up